Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and I just wanted to make a video today to kind of show something off to you guys, because first of all, when it comes to different companies, it is always a great thing to see a company improve. I'm always so happy whenever I see it happen, but normally it's a fairly gradual thing. It's not something that just kind of happens overnight. However, sometimes companies can make an exception, because Recur has gone ahead and basically just unreasonably improved overnight out of nowhere, and it's crazy. So I really kind of wanted to just show off how they've improved to you guys by showing off their older figures of each species compared to the newer figures that have just recently released, and to show you how unbelievable the jump in quality is on their brand. So unfortunately, I don't have all of the figures again as far as like the same species, so I'm going to use whatever I have that's closest for the ones that I don't have older figures of. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in this, which is their Brachiosaurus. So obviously, they haven't released a new Brachiosaurus, they released a Brachiosaurus, but I don't have the Brachiosaurus to my knowledge. I couldn't find it. I kind of actually thought I did, but when I went through all my Recur figures, I didn't see it in there, so I'm assuming maybe I was wrong about that. But when it comes to a sauropod, you can see this older Brachiosaurus they released is actually really fun. You know, I've always been a big fan of the Recur product. Even these older, softer material figures and everything, I really have always enjoyed them, but you can very obviously see that this isn't anywhere near the quality of their new figures. So let me go ahead and grab the Brachiosaurus and just bring that one in here, and I knew it was going to be too tall. I just knew it. So when we bring in the newest type of figure again from Recur, and you look at the two next to each other, that is insanity. Like, again, the Brachiosaurus from Recur was a pretty darn cool figure, but when you look at that in comparison to the Brachiosaurus, I feel like it's just no competition. The sculpt on that Brachiosaurus is absolutely gorgeous, not to mention it's got a very cool looking paint scheme and some really nice paint applications. So this is just basically the first example of their improvement. Obviously, you can see the improvement is definitely quite drastic, but I feel like the comparisons are actually going to get better as we go. Because next we have their older version of the Triceratops. Again, a pretty darn cool looking figure, fairly fun paint apps and stuff for this one, but it just has a bit of a lower quality compared to the newer Triceratops. And obviously now once you actually put the two together, that is like night and day. The difference in realism, in sculpt, and fine detail, and paint apps, and scientific accuracy, again, there's just an absolutely massive difference in quality between these two type of figures. And obviously you can see again just how quickly, and as I said, pretty much overnight, Recur decided they were just going to go from their classic style figures to the highest of quality figures that they are now producing. And again, as we continue to move through here, see this trend continue as we have what again is an obvious marine reptile here. This one unfortunately is not the Mosasaurus, though they do have a Mosasaurus out in their older style. This, as you can actually see here on the underside, is their Tyrannosaurus. Now, I will say I've always been a really big fan of their marine reptiles. I think when it comes to their old school style figures, the marine reptiles were some of the best that they had to offer. So I feel like the difference between these two won't be quite as drastic as some of the others, but still impressive enough, because again, we've got the Mosasaurus that is out now, and honestly, maybe it's a little higher than I was expecting, because when you look at those two together, obviously they both look really cool. Again, I do really quite like their Tyrannosaurus, but that Mosasaurus is unbelievable. It is gorgeous when it comes to the sculpt. Again, looking very updated and way more accurate to the way that the animal would have looked. And obviously we have very impressive paint apps again on the newer version. It's just so cool to be able to see a company like this that I feel like was honestly underrated for years just improve so drastically to finally start to honestly like demand that appreciation that I feel like they were deserving of before, but now they're really deserving of. The next one would be their Therizinosaurus, and I knew this one was going to be too tall again. their older version of the Therizinosaurus, which you can see does actually, again, look really quite cool. This is actually one of their newer figures prior to the reveals and releases of their new style figures. Like, this was one of the last ones that they had made before moving on to their new style. So it's obviously got a pretty darn nice looking sculpt and actually a pretty fun paint scheme, but is still nowhere near the quality of their newer work, which you can see here with their newer version of the Therizinosaurus, which you can also notice how they've kind of switched it up as far as the head sculpts go, having that kind of classic Therizinosaurus look, which we often believe Therizinosaurus did look like, compared to the newer version that they've released, which has a beak-like look, very similar to a Dinosaurus. But you'll also, again, just in general, notice that there's so much more impressive detail, so much more realism on the newer style figures, even when it comes to the coloration of the two. Like, the older one was quite vibrant and bright, and maybe you could look at it as being a little unrealistic, whereas the newer one looks a lot more natural and lifelike. Again, absolutely jaw-dropping jump in quality, if you ask me. Then we've got ourselves the Tyrannosaurus Rex. So when it comes to their older T-Rex, let me again readjust the camera, but when it comes to their older T-Rex, it had almost a little bit of a Jurassic Park look to it. There were also other Tyrannosaurs they had released. You know, they did have a feathered T-Rex as well, which was pretty cool, but was basically the same similar style as this one here that you can see again, which is like almost the classic Recur T-Rex at this point. But when you take that one and compare it to this one, that difference, again, just as I stated earlier, is night and day. Obviously, the accuracy is on point when it comes to the newer one as far as the overall appearance and stuff goes. It is a way more beautiful and updated interpretation of what we see on modern Tyrannosaurus Rex compared to their older, again, very inaccurate version, which obviously at one point Recur did not really seem to base their figures on scientific accuracy, and I can, appreciate that completely, because there are plenty of companies out there that do that, where they just basically create their own figures in their own way, which is exactly what Recur used to do. But obviously we can see now that Recur has moved on from that and actually started to create more accurate interpretations of dinosaurs. And in my opinion, the Recur Tyrannosaurus is easily one of the best versions of that species on the market. And honestly, all of the figures we've seen today in this video, when it comes to the newer updated versions, are some of the best you'll see of those species on the market. But the final figure, and I think this will show you the most improvement, is the Spinosaurus. So here's what their older version of the Spinosaurus looked like. Now you compare that to the newer version of the Spinosaurus, and again, that is unreal. Their older Spinosaurus, although kind of cool for its time, is like so far off in quality compared to their newer version of the Spinosaurus. It is absolutely mind-blowing to me. So again, these figures are beyond amazing, if you ask me. The new style of Recur has absolutely been blowing my mind ever since they were revealed, and they continue to do so, and I cannot wait to see more figures released from them. I know there is a Dimorphodon coming at some point. I don't know for sure what else is releasing. I believe I had seen an image somewhere of maybe a Cryolophosaurus and a Spinoceratops and a few other figures a little ways back. So definitely keeping my fingers crossed they come sometime soon. But as you can see, again, I just really wanted to show you guys the massive improvement and basically give Recur almost a round of applause for their efforts that they put in to really improve their products and not only increase the appeal in their brand, but also the appeal of their actual figures, again, giving us really cool figures originally, but now some of the best on the market. Again, if you are interested in picking these figures up, I will include links in the description to where you can purchase these figures. Again, especially when it comes to a lot of the older ones, if you are still interested in the older ones, I can definitely recommend checking out DeJenkins.com, because they have them in stock. Again, a lot of the older Recur releases that are now discontinued and stuff, you can find them on there. But again, same deal for the newer stuff. So if you are interested, make sure you check the links in the description. Definitely pick these figures up and add them to your collection. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.